This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user Nanny. Me, 21 female with the family I nanny for. The son, 13 male's behavior is starting to creep me out, but I'm not sure if it actually is inappropriate or just a cultural difference. Hey there, using a throwaway just in case. So I am from the US and recently moved to Italy to nanny. I feel this is important because so far I have not been able to tell if I'm struggling with a cultural difference here in Italy or if I actually have reason to be weirded out. It is easy to tell that the son, Dario, is in middle school. He is already several inches taller than me and his mom and has maybe 30 pounds on me. When I first got here, some of the stuff that freaked me out a little I could handle and I chalked it up to it being an Italy thing. This includes stuff like talking almost exclusively in a baby voice when addressing his parents, calling his parents mommy and daddy, fighting physically with his little sister over who gets to sit on mom and dad's lap multiple times throughout the day, fighting with the sister over who gets to sleep with the parents, getting extremely upset when mom and dad leaves for the day, and whining about not getting enough kisses or time laying in bed kissing with mom and having his parents blow on chewed food in his mouth because it's too hot. Now, I really don't want to be critical of this if it's normal here, you know? But in the US, I seriously can't imagine a single 7th grade boy engaging in any of these behaviors, so it's really new to me. And really, it hadn't affected me, so I just let it be. The problem is, though, that I'm now starting to get involved and it's making me really uncomfortable. For example, our rooms have adjacent windows, which allows the kids to see into my entire room at all times. To me, this is pretty inappropriate. What am I supposed to do when I need to change clothes? But I also don't want to seem like I'm sexualizing children or accusing them of anything, so I just politely asked for curtains and took to changing in the bathroom. After weeks without curtains, the family finally promised me that someone was going to put them up. Well, he only put them up in the kids' room. Ever since, I find Dario peeping through the curtains at me multiple times a day. Now, I'm sure he is just checking on me or curious about what I'm up to, but it makes me so uncomfortable. I didn't want to tell the family though because I was afraid they would think I was accusing their baby of trying to spy on me changing, so I just took matters into my own hands and hung a blanket up over the window. Another issue has been when we stay at the kids' grandparents' house. There is a room for the parents with a bed for one child and a room for me with a bed for one child. I figured we would split up boys and girls and I would stay with the daughter. But nighttime rolls around and Dario is crawling into the bed next to mine. I was so uncomfortable I could hardly sleep. I have talked to my friends at home about this and they all think it's really weird because we aren't related and he's a teenager now. But this is of course an American opinion, so I can't tell for sure if we're imposing our ideas on this family. Again, if this is really a cultural thing though, I don't know how to tell the family that where I'm from, it's kind of inappropriate for a boy so old to be sleeping next to me, especially when he's been spying on me lately, without causing issues. Of course, these behaviors affect other aspects of our life as well. It is hard to get Dario to do anything because he usually claims it's too hard to do. Making a bed at 13? Too hard? Are you kidding me? And I often find myself wanting to tell him to grow up. What I need help with is knowing whether he does need to grow up or if all this behavior is normal here and I'm the crazy American that needs to adjust. Is this behavior normal for a 12-year-old or is it immature? I feel like the parents still really see him as a young child and usually he acts like it. But for the most part, it seems like he plays up the baby act because he knows it makes his parents cater to him more. If this is abnormal, does anyone have any suggestions about how to bring this up to the family? Well, OP, I'm from Chile and I lived in the States, Mexico, and Germany so far, and I can pretty surely say that that is not normal behavior. To me, that just sounds like an entitled kid that's milking everything he can to get more attention from mommy and daddy, who don't do a good job at disciplining him because this is the parents' fault. Having a 13-year-old boy ask mom or dad to blow into his mouth because the food that he chewed was too hot? Yeah, that's weird. That's not normal. I don't care if you're here or in Italy or in anywhere else. That's not normal. Now, regarding your question of how to bring it up to the family, I wouldn't know how to do it if you also want to keep your job. My reasoning is that I don't think a parent who's raised an entitled kid really wants to get feedback from people that they hired or they don't really know, because they're probably entitled people themselves. So the way I see it, you've got two choices. One, of course, would be to suck it up, but that's not good. And the other one would be to see if you can find another family and go work with them. And what do you guys think about all of this? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. The Freaky says, it's normal behavior for a spoiled 13-year-old. Of course, most adolescents would want to peek at you through their curtains. The problem is the parents. They have to stop that crap right now. Don't you have authority as a nanny to scold him? In Spanish, we have a very similar culture to Italy, and that crap is inappropriate. The parents are educating a horrible child that will grow up to be an a-hole that thinks the world should cater to him. And Opie responds, oh my goodness, the relief I am feeling right now to know that this isn't normal. So far, I have not particularly felt like I have much authority because the times I would scold him, the parents are sitting right there, and how can I reprimand him in front of his own parents? I didn't include this in the post, but he is already showing major signs of being an a-hole. He is always rude, critical, and ungrateful. Every meal I make, he has something to insult about it. He treats his little sister like crap, even though she is a doll and often acts more mature than him, and he loves ordering me around and telling me what I'm doing wrong. It drives me up the wall. Deleted says, this isn't normal and you have been put in a vulnerable position. Putting curtains over the kid's room and not yours? Not okay. You are entitled to privacy. It's also not sexualizing to be aware that a 13-year-old boy may want to peep on a young woman. Facilitating this by denying you privacy is more out of line. It teaches him an inappropriate lesson and violates you. This kid is larger and possibly stronger than you, and I imagine your ability to stay in the country relies on them. That's not a safe position to be in. What happens if he starts getting handsy? He's already being taught he's sexually entitled to look at you whenever he wants. Seriously, look up Italian law. What happens if the family manages to spin this into you sexually abusing their son? Start looking into other ways to stay in the country. It's highly unlikely you can do anything to fix this, and you're in a way too vulnerable position. You deserve to live and work somewhere that you're safe and have basic privacy. Kitten Cuddle Party, that sounds like fun, says he definitely needs to grow up. Why is he sitting on his parents' lap and sleeping in their bed at 13? Like you said, I can't imagine a 13-year-old boy here behaving like that. It's also weird that they got the children curtains and not you when you're the one who asked for them in the first place. I would be super weirded out too if I were you. I think you should have a talk with the parents. And Opie responds, right? I know there is more of a culture here with people living at their parents' house longer than we tend to in the US, and I know that there is a stereotype about men who are really close with their mothers, so I didn't know at first if this was all part of it. He sits on their lap frontways, he straddles his parents, and honestly, he crushes the mom. This kid is way bigger than her, but she loves it. And H.E. Lair succinctly says, I'm Italian, and this is just weird. You're right to be creeped out. Additional information from Opie's comments. I did think he might be in the spectrum initially, but I'm fairly certain it isn't that because when his parents are gone, the baby act completely turns off, and he acts like any other teenager, albeit manipulative and critical, I have ever known, and I have worked in childcare in the classroom and as a coach for years now. Honestly, after being here 2 months and keeping my family and friends updated about everything else that has gone on, the mother is even more difficult than the son. Don't get me started. They have all told me it's the parents' fault. I asked about discipline when I interviewed, and they said they don't really have to discipline the kids. I should have taken that as a warning sign. Honestly, the mom is very strict about some stuff, so they're very good in certain areas that she deems important. Etiquette, cleanliness, but when Dario picks on the daughter, they just let the kids yell and scream and cry until I step in. They also seem to encourage many of Dario's rude comments because technically he does word them politely. For example, I will bust my ass making a meal for the whole family. To be kind and helpful, it is not in my job description. And Dario will eat 4 plates of it and then say, "I'm sorry, but why would you cook this like that?" And I'll say, "That's how we cook it in the US." And he'll say, "Well, I didn't like it. The Italian way is much better." And then put his plate on mine for me to take into the kitchen and leave. "No, thanks for cooking. No, but I did like this part. Just insult. Clean my plate. Bye." He loves to criticize. And I'm not here with an agency. Unfortunately, we just arranged it ourselves through a website online, so it's just me on my own. Within the things we agreed, they told me I wouldn't be doing any housework or cooking, but I sure do a lot. And it's like pulling teeth to get them to pay me. They are still so far behind on their payments and they keep forgetting and then stuff is cancelled. It's crazy because I know they're loaded too. This marks my 6th week and I'm hoping to stick it out a bit longer before I decide I should leave because I really do like being here. And I'm afraid to go back home and have people think I gave up. Alright, well, the community absolutely agrees this is not normal behavior, and OP gave us a lot of context regarding her situation and how she's doing. So now it's time that we move on to the update to see what happened next and how the story ends, but of course before that, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after this video. Now let's move on with the update. Hi all, I'm back. Yeesh, how long has it been? 3 to 4 months later with an update. Long story short, I quit. Here's the long version for those interested. I'll go by issue. The curtain issue. Like I said in my last post, I had just hung a blanket for privacy, and since then, there have been no peeping issues. I asked 2 more times for curtains and was reassured both times that the curtain man would come to hang them in my room. He did come back once and hung more curtains in the kids' room, but again, not in mine. Then I was told that they didn't like him and would be finding another curtain guy to hang my curtains. It's been 4 months. No more mention of it, I still use the blanket. The vacation issue. I have simply refused to go on vacation with them. I'm off on weekends and I've reached a point where I just refuse to be home for the entire weekend and manage not to see them from Friday until Monday morning if I can help it. I go on weekend trips, crash on couches, sneak into my room when they're eating, things like that just to avoid seeing anyone on my days off. The Dario issue. Dario still acts extremely immature. I warmed up to him a lot and I figured out how to cut his rudeness and such. He's become a lot more positive and kind, especially because his mom has been gone a lot and he's with me every day. I'm very upbeat and have worked really hard to get him to socialize and speak kindly. Unfortunately, he seems to have almost regressed in terms of the childish behavior. He still sits on laps, kisses a lot, and sleeps with a parent when the other is gone. The baby talk is constant. For example, he loves to repeat back butchered syllables of words, if that makes sense. Like his dad will say, "Pásame un cuchillo," pass me a spoon, and he will clap and exclaim, "Ayo!" Or, "Vuoi dell'acqua," do you want water? And he'll go, "Qua qua." He also has started eating kind of like a baby too. Like he'll take the remaining tomato sauce that we used on pasta and use a giant spoon to drink it out of the pod and get it all over his face and then suck on each of his fingers. When I look at his parents, they're looking at him like when you see a cute baby trying to use a fork and getting food on his face. But he's 13, so it's honestly sickening to watch and listen to. He won't lock the door when he goes to the bathroom or showers. Why? I started locking the door when I was like 7. And he even cried the other day when his sister sat on the foot of his bed. He doesn't like things touching his bed. And guess what? The parents got mad at the daughter, said it was her fault for baiting him. She just had to tie her shoe for a second and declared that it was her fault. Dario would be upset all night. He also hasn't made any progress with friends and has taken to playing League of Legends, so he won't leave his room or do any activities or lessons with me or the sister. It's pretty sad, honestly. He hasn't gone over to anyone's house once since I've been here, and they're talking about sending the daughter to a boarding school next year, which is so exciting. She's excited too, and I think it would be good for her. Dario absolutely refuses to leave them. He's the kind of kid who cries at camp because he can't handle being away from his parents, so there's no shot in hell he could get out. Basically, the hardest part of this whole thing has been the mother. I won't even go into it here, but she's honestly clinically insane, and I feel so bad for all the people in this house that have to put up with her. She's just a power-hungry, jealous, bitter woman who needs to see a professional. I mean, she was effing livid when the kids organized a baking competition and I won. She freaked, couldn't even hide how pissed she was. In hindsight, hilarious, but living in it, dear God almighty, help me. Anyway, I went home for the break to be with my friends and family and realized how bad this experience was for my health. I was going out drinking almost every night to escape the house. I was sleeping horribly because I knew she was here and her presence gave me awful anxiety. I was getting yelled at every day even when I did nothing wrong. I was at home in the States and the thought of going back made me absolutely miserable. So when I came back, I told them I need to go back early for medical reasons. Not totally untrue. And now I'm set to leave in 3 weeks. They've found a new girl. Look out for her post here sometime in the future. Well, Uppy, I think it's a good update. I mean, you're getting out. You did try to keep working there. You did your best, but it didn't work out. And the mom does sound insane. Hopefully this crappy experience didn't deter you from nannying for other sane families, because it's something that it sounds like you like to do. So here's wishing you the best in the future, OP. Thank you for sharing and take care. And now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user Taronk. You want me to tell you every tuner I hear as a high school teacher? Okay. This was fun for me and I was shocked at how long it was allowed to go on. Also, yes, I made a typo in the title. It should read rumor, not tuner. So, I'm a high school teacher of an elective subject that lots of kids take and enjoy. I build great relationships and generally have the same kids for multiple years, so I get all of the tea spilled on me. There was an incident during and after a school event. I was in one space doing my thing and some students who had been in another part of the building came in and said, "Mr. Taronk, there are people having sex in this other room." I followed them to the scene of the crime and there is nobody there. I did all of the appropriate follow-ups to see if anything actually went down, but nobody, no crime. And no one actually saw anything. They just said they saw the couple come out of the room and it smelled like sex when they went in after. Also, no cameras in the part of the building in question, a thing I had pointed out as a problem multiple times in the past. Fast forward like 4 months and the principal calls me down to their office. They proceeded to chew me out for not reporting the incident. It has finally made its way through the rumor mill up to the top. I told them of all the steps I took to follow up at the time and that it didn't seem like there was anything to report. The room didn't smell like sex to me, so it didn't occur to me to tell anyone about it. To be fair, it was early in my career, so maybe I was wrong. I asked them in what I assumed would be received rhetorically, so where is the line on what unverified evidence-free rumors I should be reporting? And they respond, all of them. Cue malicious compliance. I proceeded to call and email them afterward every single conversations I have with a kid that could be even remotely construed as problematic. We are talking a minimum of 3 times a day, usually more, for 3 weeks straight, including weekends. The most satisfying was on Friday afternoon at about 4:45. The principal picked up the phone and before I could say a word they said, "Okay, Mr. Taronk, you've made your point." OP's edit. Some clarifying points, particularly for those in the profession who think my initial reaction was problematic. I, the teacher it was reported to, didn't actually see the couple in question, nor could anyone involved point them out to me in the building. I did seek the clarification as to why the principal didn't think I handled it appropriately, And when seeking clarification on what unverified reports come to me should go up the chain, and she said, "Oh, this is where the malicious compliance came into play." Not because I objected to the notion, but because my legitimate question for guidance was a non-answer. It was a Friday after school. I didn't think anything of it due to the complete absence of anything actually occurring, and so I forgot about it come Monday. There was literally no one on campus to report it to, and as a young teacher, it simply didn't occur to me that I could or should call the admin on a Friday evening to report an event that had zero evidence of being true. Well, Lopi, I'm guessing that the principal just